everybody. Thank you for tuning in to this segment of Uniquely Union, a series of interviews with Union County residents and business people who have helped to make our county the great place it is to live and work. And we have as our guest for this segment, County Commissioner Gary England from the 1st District.
From the 1st District.
My district.
Yes, sir.
I helped put you in there.
And I'm glad to be here with you.
Well, we're glad you're here.
Proud that you asked me to be here with you.
We're thrilled to have you. How long have you been a county commissioner?
I'm on my 8th term, so I'm starting, at the end of this year, be 30 years. So when I finish this term, be 32 years.
32 years.
Yep.
That is a lifetime of a career for almost anybody.
Yeah, it is.
Through 32 years, you would have seen numerous changes. Can you talk a little bit about Union County now as compared to Union County when you started as a commissioner?
Well, when I started as county commissioner, of course, since I've been a commissioner, we built 2 new schools. We built a new high school. We built new Paulette Elementary, done some renovations on other schools. When I was elected, we had 2 ambulances, and they were running probably 25 to 40 calls a week. I think last year our ambulance service run something over 3,000.
Wow.
So
why do you think that is? Has our population gone up that much, or is it just a difference in the needs of the people?
Well, I think now, if somebody needs an ambulance, it's more likely that they'll call one than they did back then, because back then we only had 2, and people were kind of reluctant to call them, I guess, because we were so short-handed. And 2, now, more people are, I guess they see the need to go to the hospital by ambulance instead of trying to get there in a car.
This is probably before your time as commissioner, but it may not be, when the funeral home ran the ambulance service.
That's before my time as a commissioner, but I do remember it.
I wouldn't think many people would be that thrilled to ride a hearse to the hospital, would you? Because you may come back in it too.
Well, that's true, but that was, and at that time, the way I understand it, just whoever they could find to jump in it and take somebody to the hospital, that's who went. There was no EMTs and paramedics and all that stuff back in them days. It was just whoever they could get at the time. It might be somebody from the sheriff's department or somebody from a funeral home, just whoever they could get to drive somebody to the hospital.
What's amazing to me is you think about it, and time gets away from you. But 30 years ago, unless I'm mistaken, we didn't yet have a McDonald's, did we?
No, we didn't have a McDonald's. We didn't have a Taco Bell. We didn't have a Hardee's.
Didn't have a Food City.
Didn't have a Food City. We had one grocery store. That was Hensley's. Of course, we had a grocery store in Luttrell and some small country stores scattered over the county. But we've come a long ways there.
We have indeed. And it's hard for young people, especially kids, to imagine a place without all this stuff.
Right.
They've always had it. How hard do you think it would be for the average Union County-an now to go back to the way it was exactly 30 years ago after we've had all this stuff?
Oh, I think it'd be tough. I think it'd be, that would just be one of the biggest setbacks probably in the history of the county to try to go back.
Be almost miraculous, wouldn't it?
It would.
And the good thing for you is that since you've been continuously on the county commission for 30 years, you've got to be a part of all of that.
Got to be a part of it. Got to be a part of getting Food City in here. We worked hard. with the city and the county working together and working with Mr. Smith and the people from Food City and made it happen. And I'm proud of that.
There are people thought it'd never happen, I'm sure.
People said we'll never have a grocery store, and we'll never have an eating place, but, you know, and through all this, with all the places that we have now, the fast food places, the 33 Diner and some places like that have still survived, and I'm glad of that. You know, we were looking for progress, but at the same time, we wasn't looking to put nobody out of business.
Exactly. Do you, when you look into your vision of the future for Union County in the next, say, 2 more terms, which would be roughly 8 years, if you do 2 more terms, you will have finished out 40 years. What do you envision possibly happening in that 8 years as far as additional fast food restaurants, shopping centers, things like that? I mean, I know nobody can know for sure, but we can dream.
Well, you know, there's several people that's looked at Union County as a fast food restaurant and all that, but then when they look at the population and I guess what's already here, and you start putting all those numbers together, you know, it's got to be profitable for them.
Right.
And that's probably one of the things that I get asked more than anything else is what other restaurants are we going to get, and are we going to get a restaurant like, you know, a lot of people want to know Charlie's or Ruby Tuesdays or Shoney's or something of that sort. And there's been some of those places that's looked at it. But I think at this time they just can't see where it can be profitable for them. And things are tough in the restaurant industry right now anyway. You know, there's a lot of them closing all over, so it's not one of the biggest growing businesses, I guess, right at this time, but maybe later.
I know when Hardee's originally opened, it was an Oskie's.
Right.
It was kind of on the scale of a Shoney's. And it may have been premature for its time because it ultimately didn't make it. It changed into a Hardee's franchise.
Well, I think Oskie's was from the way I understand it, it was an experimental thing for Oscar Robertson. And he was looking at doing these restaurants. And so I think he just experimented with that one and then decided to take his interest and put it into the Hardee's franchise since Oskie's didn't go as well as he thought it would. But I'm still glad and proud that Oscar did decide to come to Union County and get all this started.
Me too.
So, you know.
Because his dream ultimately led to Hardee's, which led to McDonald's. I can remember Union County myself, one red light on the old main road that didn't work most of the time.
Right.
Now we have 3 on the main road that work all the time.
Right.
Now that's progress, isn't it?
That's progress.
1 red light to 3, buddy.
Well, you don't even really want to think about the old road anyway. I mean, that was a disaster, you know, and especially for all the big trucks and everything that had to go up there and make the curve at the bottom of the hill and all that. So
I almost really don't remember the old Main Street being the main Highway 33. I really can't remember it. I know I was about 8 when it came through, but still, all memory of it for me is gone. What do you think our chances are of getting the 4-lane section all the way from the county line down to, well, from the mayoral city limit to the county line?
oh, I think that'll happen.
I've heard it's the next thing on the state's one of their top priorities.
It has been it's been moving up the list, and it's up to the top now. But you know, every time we hear anything about it, course, we don't hear anything saying that we're not gonna build the road. All we hear is we don't have the money right now. So, they got a lot of projects on hold.
Right.
And I think once money comes available and they start back into construction, I think we're 3 to 5 years out. But now that's just my opinion.
And the high school, I can remember in Isabel, you mentioned 2 new schools a while ago. I can remember on a kind of sunny, cold, windy day, sitting there when the ground was broken for it.
Mm-hmm.
And this year is the last payment on the high school, isn't it?
It is. High school will be paid off at the end of June this year.
And that is remarkable.
That's remarkable. And that is through a joint effort of the school board and the county commission working together.
Mm-hmm.
Because county commission paid half and the school board paid half. Mm-hmm. So that's just, that progress came along with working together.
And the relationship between the county commission and the school board right now and for the past few years has been the best that it's been in my lifetime that I remember.
Oh, it's definitely been the best it's been since I've been on county commission. Mm-hmm. I think it took several years to keep changing some people on both sides to where that both sides got to where they trust each other. Mm-hmm. And I think now we have that trust.
What do you think was the greatest factor in bringing about this trust?
Well, like I say, I think it was getting the right people in the right places. Mm-hmm. Had a lot to do with it. Different people got elected on both sides, and I just think we come up with enough people that could trust each other to where that we could actually work together. And years ago, and you remember this, years ago, everybody thought everybody was stealing money. Mm-hmm. It didn't matter, it didn't matter. Everybody was crooks. If they were in county government, they were considered crooks. Well, mm-hmm. I think we got over that. And I think the computer system, everything going through Nashville instead of staying in the county, I think that brought some of the trust to it, because it's just, that don't happen.
Mm-hmm. One of the last confrontations that now this is my opinion, kind of with one foot in, one foot out, this is my opinion. I think one of the last confrontations was over centralized mm-hmm. finance. Of course, all we had ever heard on the board side of it was what a terrible thing it was, what a disaster it was for all the districts that had it. So, of course, we were opposed to it because our colleagues experienced it and they told us that. I think that the county government was more in favor of it in the beginning.
We were
That's
reluctant to
anyway.
Start with, mm-hmm. and then we got to go into some meetings and talking to some other people and figuring out how it was working for them. Mm-hmm. And I think you and me both agree now that we've been here and seen it. It's the best thing ever happened.
From my personal experience, in many ways, yes, it is.
It's the best thing ever happened. It put everybody on the same page. It put everybody on the same level. And, you can go to the finance office. I can, you can, anybody can. Go to the finance office. You can get any numbers you're looking for. Mm-hmm. And they'll print them right out and hand them to you.
I think another thing it's brought about is that with everything in one place, you can mix and match your funds better. You're not double spending, so to speak. The school system's not paying for one thing, and then maybe the road commission paying for the same exact part of something, like paving a school
right.
parking lot or something. I think that's been a great benefit to us.
And it gives you more buying power for the money because it allows you to buy a lot more supplies and anything on the state bid than just going out here and paying full price for it.
Right.
And anything that you can get on a state bid, you know, cars for the sheriff's department or anything that you can get on a state bid is cheaper.
Mm-hmm. And one thing you alluded to earlier, and I think it's key, having the right people in the right positions. You don't agree all the time, but there is a way to disagreeably agree, or turn it around to agree to disagree, I guess.
Right.
And do you think that Union County is better now? I mean, when you talk politics, you got to be a little honest sometimes. Feelings run high sometimes in politics, and it gets personal for people, and they make lifelong enemies over it. But I don't see as much of that as I used to.
No.
I don't.
No, I don't think that's nearly as bad as it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of it is like you said, it's agreeing to disagree.
Mm-hmm.
And sitting down talking things out. And I just think that's, that's brought us a long ways from the old style of politics. Of course, any small county, no matter where it is, any small county, politics has always been a big thing, and it always will be. I mean, it's just,
we know that.
That's just the way it is, and you got to live with it.
I know the philosophy used to be, and it's not as possible to do this anymore. Knowledge is power. If I know what my budget is and how much money I've got, I don't want you to know it. Because if you know I've got it, you might actually want to help me spend it or something,
Right.
But, like you say, computers, centralized finance, taking a lot of the mystery out of that. It's forced us into a new way of thinking.
And look how much money we've saved by central finance because we've eliminated several positions. When everybody was doing their own, everybody had to have their own people. Well, now, that it's all went to one central office to be done, we've probably eliminated 7 or 8 people that we don't have to pay.
Right. For my part, for the school system, I manage federal programs budget. One of the great benefits it's been to me is there's certain things I no longer have to worry about. If I have something that has to be bid, Central Finance will catch it for me, and they won't let me purchase it until we go through the proper bid channel. That relieves a great deal of stress because you can do things wrong and not know you're doing them wrong.
Right.
That's a nice buffer for me personally. I would assume it is for other people too.
Well, yeah, it is for everybody. I mean, you got somebody that's watching you back, and if you're about to do something that might get you in trouble, they can stop and talk about it.
Right. Speaking of school debt, though, high school's just about paid off, and that's good. Now we still owe on Paulette and the school additions, though. Do you know roughly how much we owe and when that's due to be paid off? You would know more about it than I would.
Well, I've got all that on paper, but I didn't bring it with me, and I don't really want to say without having it in front of me,
I
but
understand, yeah.
it's, I think that it's 2027. I believe now that. I could be wrong. It could be 25, but I believe it's 27. All that'll be paid off.
And that's not that far away.
Not that far away.
And I know that we have already started having conversations about a new school, maybe most likely a new middle school. And here's a question. One of those political questions, you know. When Paulette was built, the $30 wheel tax was enacted.
Right.
And part of the understanding was that when Paulette was paid off, that $30 wheel tax would go away.
It does.
But is that really feasible if you're talking about in this day and time of high construction costs building another school?
Well, the way the wheel tax is set up, it goes away when that debt's paid.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to continue with the wheel tax, you have to let that one go, and you have to reenact a new
Have to
one.
vote in another one.
Yeah, the way it's set up, it went through Nashville. It was passed in the resolution that wheel tax sunsets at the payment of that debt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that don't say that you can't vote in another one.
Right.
The commission can vote in another one, or you can put it on the ballot and let the people vote on it.
Personally, I have at present 6 vehicles. So I am paying $180 a year wheel tax.
Right.
You're into antique cars. How many vehicles do you have altogether?
Well, now, some of mine, I don't. If they're antiques and you've got antique plates on them,
Mm-hmm.
you only pay it one time,
Okay.
because you don't buy a plate every year. At this time, I've got 5. Let's see. I've got 5 that I pay on every year, so that's $150 a year.
Yeah. We're both supporting it very well, aren't we?
Well, we are, but,
Yeah.
you know,
From my standpoint, and John Q. Public overall may not like it, but I've paid it so long, I'm used to it. You know what I mean?
well, I am too, and every time you drive down the road, you can look over there at the school, and you can say, well, you know, I'm paying $150 a year for that building.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, over a 20-year period, that's only $3,000.
What would we do with that $3,000 anyway? Eat out.
We'd spend it.
Well, of course we would.
We'd spend it. But it's my opinion, and my opinion only. Everybody's got one.
Right.
And a wheel tax is fair because you've got so many people living in the county that don't own property and don't pay property taxes, but they have kids go to school.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a way to, you know, let them pay their share.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you and me, we don't have anybody going to school, but
Of course, I work for them, so everybody
We
has
don't.
a child. They're keeping me employed, and I really appreciate that, you know.
well, you'd be employed and you'd be paid with or without it, because that wheel tax is just to pay on that school. It's not, it don't have anything to do with your salary, but.
Got to fill it up, though, to keep it going, you know.
Well, that's true. But it's a pretty fair tax when you look at the amount of people that rent or, you know, live where they don't pay taxes, but they have kids that go to school. And I understand too, the other way around, that the ones that don't have kids that go to school.
Right.
But
Of course, anytime you impose a new tax, there is opposition. We know that. How much opposition was there to the wheel tax, though? Was it really a loud outcry?
well, it was pretty opposed to start with. Okay, we decided we was going to do Paulette School. And now, my opinion again, from what people said to me, we decided we was going to build school. So we decided we was going to do it with wheel tax. And we did it. Well, the first year of the wheel tax, we really got hammered pretty hard. But when people started driving down the road and they started seeing the brick and mortar go up, and they started seeing a nice school going up over there, then it just kind of went away.
Yeah.
It just kind of went away. You know, I think that is the key to any tax or any time you want to get money. You got to show the people
Exactly.
that what you're going to do with it, and that you're going to do the right thing with it.
And that's where the element of trust in your local government comes in. If your taxes go up and you don't see anything that they're paying for, you wonder where it's going.
Right.
Yeah. Do you see, I mean, I know we've started talking about a new school. Do you see one in the not terribly far future, another new school in the county? You think it's a possibility?
Well, I think anything's a possibility, you know, but I think it's going to be a little ways out, simply because we got to start from scratch. We have nothing. We don't have any property. Mm-hmm. We don't have anything to start with. So we got to go through, if we decide we're going to build a school, we got to go through the whole process. So I don't think it's something you're going to see in the next 2 years, mm-hmm. simply because that, you know, it's just going to take time to get everything into place to get something started.
Mm-hmm. And if the state does indeed make this a 4-lane all the way from the city limit to the county line, I would assume, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that would cause property values to go up.
Well, we would hope so.
And that's good because it puts money into the county's coffers for taxes, but it's bad when you look at buying property to build a new school, because the price of it's going to go up too.
Well, that's true, but
you have to take the good with the bad.
From all the meetings we've had so far, mm-hmm. and I'm on that committee along with a couple other commissioners with the school board, mm-hmm. and from the meetings we've had, I don't think that anybody wants to put another school right on this main highway.
That's the impression I get. You're right.
And especially if we do get that 4-lane, and when we get that 4-lane, I don't think anybody wants to do that now. I think you'll see, if you see a school built, you'll see it built off on another road. Mm-hmm. Not out in the middle of nowhere. Don't get me wrong now. It won't be out in the middle of nowhere, but I don't think it'll be right up against this 4-lane. Mm-hmm. So it may not change the price of property. We've got 2 or 3 places we're looking at right now, mm-hmm. and you know, a couple of them's pretty reasonable. I mean, when you talk about property's high now. So
it is.
If you get a chance to get something halfway reasonable, mm-hmm. it's a pretty good deal. Of course, we'll never get no more like we got this down here.
No.
You know, there's probably not going to be any more bankruptcy property like it for us to buy cheap like we bought that.
But. You think we've talked about politics long enough?
We probably have, yeah. We need to move on to something else.
Kind of drug it to death. You have other interests in life besides being a county commissioner. We've talked about your antique cars. You do that. And a lot of people don't know, possibly, because I didn't know it myself till a year or 2 ago, that you are into being a DJ for events. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I kind of got into that by accident back about 25 years ago. Of course, I did some things with Billy Hayes, WNOX, years ago, and then we were at a show. This little story here, and I'll make it short, but we were at a show in Pigeon Forge with a car, and their DJ was coming from Illinois, and he got sick, mm-hmm. and he didn't get to come. Well, they had their own equipment and everything. So the people that was over the show, they knew that I had done some of that stuff, so they come to me and asked me if I would fill in, so I did. for the weekend, 3 days, and I kind of got interested. I thought, well, this wouldn't be bad to do along with the cars. So then I turned around and Billy retired from WNOX. Mm-hmm. Well, Billy was doing this stuff. He had a bunch of equipment, so I bought what he had. And that's how I got started in that part of it. And then over the years, I've just got rid of all that old heavy stuff and tried to get modern, light, digital equipment and everything. But we're doing all we want to do and turning away a lot of shows because we have been blessed to the point to where that we can pretty much pick and choose what we want to do.
That's good.
And we do, I think this year we've got about 42 shows booked.
And that's a lot.
And that's a lot.
I mean, if you look at it one a week, then there's only about 10 weeks you're not doing something.
Some weeks we do two. Mm-hmm. And then, we'll do a little bit of stuff. We've been doing some stuff for Melanie down at Senior Citizens here lately. We've been doing some little dances and parties. We did a Valentine's party down there last Friday for her. And, we enjoy doing that and just helping out wherever we can. And we've did some stuff that you've come to, and everybody just has a good time.
And that's the way it ought to be.
That's the way it ought to be. That's what makes the world go round.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any other hobbies other than antique cars and music, or do you have time for any more?
Well, don't have a lot of time. But we do, of course, like I say, we do the car stuff, and pretty much any time that we don't have a show that we're DJing, we'll take a car and go somewhere to a show. So we stay involved in that. And, of course, I've been a member of the Union County Rescue Squad since 1987. So I'm a lifetime member there. Mm-hmm. And we do some stuff for them. Matter of fact, we do their convention in Pigeon Forge every year for the state Association of Rescue Squads. And we do their DJ work and stuff down there for them, and we enjoy that. So, yeah, we're involved in something all the time. Of course, Thunder in the Park. Mm-hmm. We were involved
You took an active part in its organization, didn't you?
Do what?
You took an active part in organizing that event.
Yeah, we were active in the first one, and then we took a couple years. We had other stuff to do, and we took a couple years off, and then we come back to it. Thomas wanted us to come back to it last year, and last year it was, I think, a big, huge success. We had 245 cars that registered in the car show.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. We had the police department estimated probably about 8,000 people there. And that's a pretty big show for Union County.
Yeah.
And it's free. Mm-hmm. And people don't get a chance to go do much free stuff anymore. So
that's true.
We have a fantastic fireworks show, pyro shows. Of course, James lives in the county, James Woods, and he does a super good job on our fireworks for us. And, it's just something that anybody can go to, and if they don't want to buy something to eat or drink or something from a vendor, they don't have to spend a penny.
Right.
And I think that says a lot for Union County, because just look around and see if you see any more counties that does that.
And that's another way Union County has changed for the better. We have Thunder in the Park now. We have the Heritage Festival in the fall.
And it does great.
Uh-huh. And now we have the Union County Opry.
The Opry's doing great.
And that's a good thing.
Got some fantastic people running the Opry. Mm-hmm. Proud of them.
Union County has a lot that people, I think they're becoming aware of it more than they used to be, but sometimes we don't sell ourselves like we ought to. I think. We have a lot more to offer than some people realize, I think.
Well, a lot of people don't, a lot of people don't participate. If they don't participate, they don't understand what
Right.
all is out there for them that's free. We got Art on Main now. They're doing it again this year, so.
And it's been gone for a few years, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been gone for 2 or 3 years now, but they're bringing it back this year.
That's a good thing.
And, it's, there's a lot of stuff doing in Union County that you don't have to pay for.
Exactly. And of course, Norris Lake is one of the world's great natural resources that God chose just to put right here for us.
Right.
And that's a good thing.
Right. We've got a huge tourism base because of North Lake and because of some of this other stuff that we're doing. Getting back to Thunder in the Park, last year we just had each person that brought a car come down and just sign a book and tell us where they were from and put their name and their address, where they were from, just so we'd know how many we had and where they come from. We had cars from 6 states.
It's pretty good.
We had 2 cars from Cincinnati, Ohio, that came down here for Thunder in the Park.
And who really would think of that when you think about it?
We had 60-something cars out of Kentucky that came here. We had some out of North Carolina, Virginia, of course, Tennessee. And it was just, there was people from everywhere.
And of course, one of our greatest assets is our people overall.
Our people.
Overall, Union Countyans have always been friendly, I think. My experience, anyway. And you can't beat that, can you? And
pretty much anything you want to do, if it's something that's gonna, that it's gonna bring people, it's something that's good for the community, you don't have a problem getting people to volunteer to help do it.
That's true. That's true.
You'll get more volunteers than you would ever think.
Sometimes you get more than you can even hardly use.
Well, that's true. But
and that's a good problem to have.
Yeah, you can always give somebody a break when it's 100 degrees out there. But
there you go.
And, our leadership right now is all about pushing forward, moving on, trying to make things better, trying to bring more stuff into the county. And, things are looking better. They may not be progressing as fast as a lot of people would like to see them progress, but most things take time.
But even there is one of our charms. We're not moving so fast that we're alienating people.
That's true.
Because us old timers, we have a hard time to change, don't we? If it's slow, we can kind of handle it, but it's like the frog in the pot of water. You've heard this, I'm sure. But if you take a frog and you throw him into a pot of boiling water, he will jump out. But if you put him in a lukewarm pot of water, since he's cold-blooded, he'll just stay in there until he boils because it raises very slowly. A lot of us old-timers like that. We need to be in the lukewarm pot of water for a while before. As we come to a close, it's been great having you here. We've got the ears of Union County for a few minutes anyway. Is there anything you'd like to tell Greater Union County out there that we've not already told them?
Well, we're giving everybody an opportunity to participate in all this stuff and come be a part of it. And, don't just stay home and say negative things about us. Come see what we do. And, if you've got an ideal, let us know. I don't have the answers to everything. You don't have the answers to everything. But it takes everybody working together.
Correct.
And we can make this thing happen. And, Union County is one of the greatest places to live and raise a family, I think, that you'll find anywhere. Our crime rate's low. We've got the most beautiful landscape that there is any place, and we've got everything we need except maybe more places to work and that sort of thing. But you know,
we have more than we used to.
We have more than we used to. We're still growing. I don't know. Maybe it won't hurt nothing if I mention it. You know, right up the road here, before you get out to the school, we're getting ready to put up a building there. 40 by 120, concrete floor, farmer's market. And when the farmer's market's not using it, then it'll be available for other things to use.
I think that's one of the greatest achievements in the recent, say, year or two.
The farmer's market?
Yes, I do.
Farmer's market's doing good. And, you know, the parking lot up there where they are now, it's not, nobody's complaining, but it's just not a real good location because you've got too many things goes on right there in that one spot. So if we can do this, and we're going to do it. We're determined we're going to do it. And we can get them out up there. We can get them in a nice building down here. Like I say, when they're not using it, somebody else can.
That's right. Accomplishes a lot of good purposes there. Well, Mr. England, it has been a pure pleasure to have you with us. Glad you could come. Maybe we can do it again someday.
Well, maybe. And I've enjoyed being here with you. Of course, you know, I always enjoy going to the show or anywhere you're at because we always have a lot of fun. Yeah. And I want to thank Aaron and his family for doing this and giving the people a chance to see what's going on out there and everything. And just thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. And thank you, Union County, and for tuning us in for this segment of Uniquely Union for one of our series of interviews with Union County resident Gary England, who's helped to make our county a better place to live and work. I'm Ronnie Mincey. Thank you for joining us.